One of the main reasons an audience will tune out a speaker is if that person sounds boring, or in other words, lacks vocal variety. For example, if I were to do the rest of this training video sounding like this, you would quickly get annoyed and stop listening because I sound like a robot. Fortunately, we're not robots. So let's explore some of the basic elements of vocal variety, including volume, tone, pitch, and pace. Have you ever listened to a really great ghost story where the storyteller starts giving you haunting detail after haunting detail until the scary part happens? Well, that's a great example of how a range of volume can add energy to your speaking. Now, in the Weather Service, we tell weather stories instead of ghost stories, but it's still important for us to figure out that range that we can use in our volume. You don't want to talk so softly that the audience becomes frustrated because they can't hear you. And you don't want to talk so loudly that the audience gets annoyed because it sounds like you're yelling at them. Another aspect I'd like to touch on is how you are delivering your speech. If you're in a large room with no microphone, then your range of soft and loud is going to be much stronger than your normal voice. But if you're taking a call or using a microphone, then your range of soft to loud is going to be closer to your normal voice or slightly softer. And the last thing I'd like to touch on is the fact that some people are naturally very soft talkers or very loud talkers. If you think you might be on one of those ends of the spectrum, this is a great opportunity to get some coaching. Because what you'll need to do is retrain the muscles around your vocal cords. If you're a soft talker, you may need to start yelling so that you have stronger control, and then you can back off to a more normal vocal range. If you're a loud talker, you may have to back off so you feel like you're whispering, but again, you can return it to a more normal range. So basically, we want our volume range to be like Baby Bear's porridge in Goldilocks, just right. Tone and pitch tend to go hand in hand when talking about vocal variety. But what do these terms even mean? Well, tone is the way that you can use your voice to express feeling or an attitude, whereas pitch relates to the frequency of your voice, for instance, high pitch or low pitch. A good analogy of how to use these two together relates to training a dog. For instance, when you give a dog a command, sit, stay, you'll tend to lower your pitch and use a firm tone. And then once the dog follows the command, you do the complete opposite. Good boy! Where your pitch goes higher and there's more joy in your voice. For the Weather Service, when we're discussing weather and the outlooks, there's obviously different tones and pitches we want to use. For example, this weekend we're expecting some really nice weather. We're expecting sunny skies, mild temperatures. So if there are any outdoor projects or activities you were thinking about doing, it's a great time to schedule that. However, next week, models are indicating that there could be a very serious storm moving into the area, so you'll want to stay tuned to the forecast for updates. So like the forecast changes, make sure your tone and pitch changes with it. Pace is another aspect of vocal variety that simply refers to the speed at which you're talking. This is also a place where nerves can come into play and negatively impact your voice. Some people, when they get nervous, start to talk very quickly and it's hard to understand them. Other people get nervous and clam up and don't know what to say. So, after you've calmed your nerves, try to find a good, comfortable pace when talking about the forecast. But you can still add some variety. For instance, if there's a really large storm coming in, you may quickly discuss the impacts and then slow down when you talk about how people should take precaution. Here's an example. We're expecting a very large storm to move in this week, and it's going to cause a lot of impacts, such as gusty winds, heavy rain in the valley, thunderstorms, and up in the mountains, we could see several feet of snow as well as whiteout conditions. Now, here's how we're telling people to be prepared. First, avoid travel on Friday afternoon. That's when the strongest part of the storm will hit. Second, if you do have to drive, do so with caution and drive slowly. Third, don't forget to put an emergency preparedness kit in your car. Now let's discuss the power of the pause. In the weather world, we can often use pausing to highlight concerns, as in the last example where you paused to help highlight how people should prepare for a big storm. Another way to use pausing is to emphasize statistics that will help the public grasp the severity of the situation. For example, this upcoming storm will bring very gusty winds. In fact, it may be stronger than the Columbus Day storm in 1962. And another clever use of the pause is to grab people's attention. Have you ever been giving a presentation or a talk and you notice that people are starting to drift off? Well, just use a pause longer than normal, and that will perk up the brain of the audience because they'll realize they don't know what's going on, they don't hear someone speaking, and did somebody just ask them a question? So play with pace and pause in order to add some extra punch to your presentations. We've been talking a lot about vocal variety, but if I had to sum it up and leave you with one piece of valuable advice, it would be this. Speak as if you're talking to your friend. A conversational speaking style helps the audience connect to you because they feel comfortable listening to you. If you're stuffy or too technical or shy or nervous, then the audience will tend to ignore you or feel uncomfortable talking to you. And you really want to make sure that they're paying attention to your message. So the next time you speak with partners or the community, think as if you're talking to your best friend. The second tip I'd like to give you is something you can do any day, anytime, anywhere. Practice enunciation. Take some time every day to over-enunciate all of your words. It may sound silly, but it will pay off in the long run. Think about some conference calls you've been on where the reception really isn't that clear. If you enunciate well, then your message will still be clear. Good enunciation also comes in handy when you have a lot of information to cover in a short amount of time. And finally, for the third tip, if you really want to get the most out of your public speaking, invest in some coaching sessions. You can get tips catered specifically to you. Watching videos is a great way to start off because you become more aware of things you can work on. But if you have a coach, they can give insights specific to you on how to improve and build on your strengths.